Okay, sure. Does Lance know that? Okay. Is that a go, Lance?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is a meeting of the local planning agency of the village of Tequesta. It is April 15th. We will call to order at 5:30 p.m. May I have an approval for tonight's agenda? Oh, I'm sorry, roll call first, my bad, sorry. Lance, can I have a roll call, please?
Janice Strand,
Here.
Steve Egan,
Here.
Elizabeth Shower,
Here.
Ashley Warren, Lisa Dashiell,
Here.
Teresa Maggio,
Here.
Mark Equals.
Thank you, Lance. Now, can we have an approval for tonight's agenda?
I'll, for the approval of agenda.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next item is the approval of the meeting minutes from January 21st, 2021. Did you all get a chance to look at them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from January 21.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nope.
Motion passes. Thank you. The agenda item tonight is ordinance number 7-21, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Village Code of Ordinances at Chapter 78. Article 9, Supplemental Regulations, Division 10, Occupancy or Use of Temporary Structures, Trailers, or Vehicles, Section 78-612. Other uses to permit the parking of food truck trailers within the village jurisdiction, under certain conditions, also amending Chapter 78. Zoning Article 9 to create an entirely new Division 11, entitled Mobile Food Vendors, in order to establish local regulations for mobile food vendors in accordance with the Chapter 509 Florida statutes, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 78 zoning shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes. Nelson, you want to take the floor?
Yes, please. Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. This ordinance that is in front of you tonight is because the village had started to receive inquiries about locating a food truck in some of our plazas. So at the time, this is more or less in December, we had a workshop after that with the village council, and village council asked us to put together an ordinance because our current code really doesn't have a provision with regard to food trucks. It's silence. So, and as you know, the code is our tool that helps us to plan and to regulate our village. So this is, so basically, this is the LPA, and then according to the recommendation of this board, to the input, this will move forward to first reading for council. And now I want to go one by one, please.
Sure.
Staff has done a lot of research to put together this ordinance. Mm-hmm. So the first, first of all, on the title, you will see that we are doing two things with this ordinance. On the title, you can see that. First of all, we are clarifying Article 9, Division 10. That's the first thing that we are doing, and we'll go into detail how we are clarifying that. The second thing that we are doing with this ordinance is that we are creating a new division, which is mobile food vendors. So let's go with on your page 2. Page 2, it shows the division that is already existing. And we are adding B, and we are adding also 1 and 2. Okay, this division specifically is Article 9 Supplemental Regulation, Division 10, Occupancy for Use and Temporary Structures, Trailers, or Vehicles. So what's happening, we added B because if you read carefully A, it just says it refers to continual placement, parking, standing, or utilization of any trailer, and I highlighted here that. So, but in reality, we didn't have anything specifically related to mobile food truck as temporary structures. So we added B, and then under B, there is number 1, number 2. So this is like, again, like an existing division that we are just clarifying, because one of the potential applicant was trying to basically to locate their trailer, because there are different type of mobile food truck. It could be self-propelled, it could be hinged as a trailer, like I have photos here. You know, it could be self-propelled like this, or it could be like as a trailer. So this potential applicant was reading this section A here, you know, like he can put a trailer, and, you know, so we were needing to clarify that division. So the most important part of this ordinance is the new division, where we got into the nuts and bolts, Division 11. If you go to page 4, that's where we go in deep end how we are going to regulate the food trucks. So the first part of this Division 11 is that definitions. So, and we are defining, we are in categories. There is class 1, class 2, class 3. So depend on those classes, then there will be certain requirements. And those requirements are clarified in the body of the ordinance. In general, class 1 is when you are actually cooking the food there. Class 2 is you already have prepackaged food. You know, it's like I actually put a photo. Let's see. Most of the time, the construction sites, they will have this type of, you know, places. So they sell their sandwiches or prepackaged food, you know. So, and those are usually called canteen, you know. So, and even we go to class 3, that is ice cream trucks. So these are all the type of definitions, and they are also according to Florida statutes. Another thing that is really important to keep in mind is last year in 2020, the state of Florida passed certain regulation that prohibits municipalities to even issue a permit. So basically, a food truck cannot come to the village and request a permit because the village cannot get into permitting food trucks because this regulation that passed last year. However, the village can review based on their existing zoning and also zoning regulations that we are putting here. So in this ordinance. So in any case, for example, in page 5A, and you look at I kind of highlighted the most important parts of this ordinance. So food truck special events. If you are having more than one food truck, then it's a special event, and then our code already have a process to review special events. Most of this ordinance is for one food truck that wants to be in one shopping plaza. But like it says here, if you want to have more than two, gathering of two or more, then it will be a special event, and that has to be in compliance with the village code for special events. Then also, B, it has to be in compliance with health and safety regulations. And then, obviously, they need to provide licenses from the state, which is really important. And I want to talk about that when we get to the checklist. We put together this checklist thinking about a food truck owner who arrives to the village and says, okay, I want to have a food truck. What do I need to provide? So we will provide them this checklist, and I think it will be easy to follow. The checklist is based on the ordinance. Basically, they are together. So we consider that it's extremely important to have this C, initial and annual fire safety inspections. Our fire department must check that the fire truck is in accordance with their fire code. That is extremely important, and that should happen at the beginning and once a year, the check. So also, if you look at F, I'm still in page 5, we also put that no tables, chairs, umbrellas, or other furniture for patron seating may be placed outside the mobile food truck unless the property owner has obtained a village-issued special event permit. So basically, the food truck needs to be self-contained. You cannot put in little tables there and people be sitting there, so it needs to be self-contained. So the other, I, at the bottom of page 5, it says, conducting business near existing retail food establishment. A mobile food truck shall not be located within 200 feet of any existing retail food establishment during such establishment hours of operation without the prior written permission from the retail food establishment. A copy of such a written permission shall be maintained in the mobile food truck at all times. So also, when we workshop that with the council, that was they thought that was a good, provision to have that, because depending of we have very successful brick and mortars, so we thought that was also important. Also, M, interfere with vehicular and pedestrian traffic. Is real. For example, when someone says, I want to locate my food truck in this plaza, they will need to submit a sketch site plan so we can make sure that there's not interference with the access drives, with the, any of sidewalks, make sure that safety is paramount. So, I am on page 6, limitation on number of mobile food truck per property. And here is where we clarify, no more than one mobile food truck shall operate on a given property at any one time, unless property owner has obtained a village-issued special event permit. So we restated that. So, and it's also important, O, limitations of number of operating days, because basically, if a food truck is on a plaza, for how long? So can it be the whole year? Can it be, what does it mean? So we provided a specific language with regard to number of operating days. So, and also parking spaces. Can a food truck park on a parking space? So now we have a regulation that says, no, on-site parking requirement shall be maintained for the principal use of the property. Because when that property or that plaza their site plan was approved, there is a requirement for X amount of parking spaces that need to be available for the shopping plaza. So basically, it couldn't be parked on a required parking space. So, based on this language. And also we added hours of operation at the bottom of page 6. And we also thought that was important on page 7 on T, as a team, restroom facility. If that food truck will be more than X amount of hours, they should have access to a restroom facility. So here we put it very clearly that the property owner needs to provide that, of the plaza or the place where that food truck will be located. So, and there will be also a written, permission for that. And obviously we have waste disposal, which is also extremely important, and signage. We clarify very in detail what can they do and what they cannot do with regard to signage. And then on page 8, we clarify also on the different districts. Where can they, class 1, mobile food trucks, if they can be on the residential zoning district, on the non-residential zone, and so we did a review one by one, all the different districts with regard to class 1. Then we also describe class 2, and specifically we are saying that class 2 canteen trucks are prohibited in all zoning districts except to provide catering to employees on site at location within clearly delineated boundaries of the site. So, and again, I'm talking about construction sites, for example, so, and obviously class 3 ice cream trucks. And also we clarify with regard to the different zoning districts. So, and then there is the section 78644, penalties for violations, that we...
That one just essentially says that if there's violations of this, it goes through code enforcement. So that,
on the back.
sorry, it goes through code enforcement. That's all that language is speaking to. And just one additional clarification that Nilsa, just regard to the preemption. So what the preemption bill also said is that you can't outright prohibit them in the village, these food trucks. So that's the reason to specify and provide very clear regulations, because what seems to happen is there's a very close following amongst food truck operators, and once one goes somewhere, they establish and more follow is sort of the trend. So they got powerful lobbyists last year, and they were successful in partial preemption, but that's the importance of specifying exactly where they can go in the village and subject to what regulation, so that if there is a proliferation, because in the village there's been a few, in other jurisdictions it's very, very common to get large groups. So to put regulations, and as you see and as Nilsa went through, these additional regulations are very comprehensive to address some of the common problems like garbage, outside seating, to make sure that the operation of these is successful and it doesn't cause impediments to wherever they are. Go ahead.
The one thing you didn't address is the dress code. Remember years ago, now I'm showing my age. There used to be female women that were doing a food truck down in West Palm, and they wore bikinis and,
Yes, they sold tomatoes.
huh?
They sold tomatoes.
That was a hot dog. Gloria.
Yeah.
Hot
Okay.
dog.
Remember the
Hot
tomato
dog
stand.
And when I was reading this, I kept looking, there's nothing in here for dress
Right.
code.
Right.
Well,
That's true.
What's to stop them from wearing a bikini and everything, or I'm sorry, but it's a dress code.
That's a good point.
that's the reason this ordinance is in front of this board. So we are taking notes, and these are, recommendations, so that will pass it to the council, because this is moving forward. If it's recommended to move forward, we'll move forward for first reading.
Do we need a motion for that? Or is it just a recommendation?
You're a recommending body tonight. Nilsa's taking notes of the comments that you have, which can be forwarded on to the council, depending on how you all vote tonight. I will say that in my review of all the ordinances, I have not seen that addressed. The common trend now is that there's been a transition. I can't speak directly to the past issue. There is certainly a trend now where these folks who are running these food trucks are fully within the food trucks. They shouldn't be outside of the food trucks. I don't know if
But lo and behold, I mean, I'm playing the devil's advocate here. What is to stop somebody? I mean, because these women did it years ago in the 80s, after I first moved down here, and they would be with signs, and people were getting into car accidents because,
Right.
Yeah, and I think maybe the better way is to make a modification to the sign, that there cannot be like those spinning sign folks.
Well, it does say the signs have to be attached.
Sure,
to
that it can't be a
well,
physical
it says
person.
that, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
what is
We'll think about it.
Yeah, let's think about that
let's think,
one.
and writing down the 80s, all of that. So,
It was a big controversial thing when I first moved here.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
No, you're absolutely right.
No,
That
it's
was
true.
that was a famous
Yeah.
thing.
Does anybody remember before they enlarged alternate A1A to multiple lanes, when it was still a 2-lane washboard road?
Yes.
At Donald Ross and
And-
alternate, there used to be a tomato stand there. 4 girls in the thong bikinis.
Yep.
Oh, my
The
gosh.
whole bit, yep, selling tomatoes.
Yep.
they were
And
outside
They
the
were
food truck?
Outside.
No, it was a stand.
was
They
a
had
Oh, was a
And they
stand.
were
But-
selling tomatoes, but they were all in bikinis, not appropriately dressed for a street, my opinion.
Yeah.
But all in bikinis,
Or it
and
was
the
like- it
guys
was like
loved
a-
it,
a
but,
wagon or
yeah,
a cart.
Yeah.
Okay.
not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one was a hot dog stand.
Yeah, the
It was
hot
dog
famous-
stand.
it was
The hot
famous.
dog,
It was
yeah.
the girls were selling hot dogs. And it was
Well,
a-
we
it was a
truly
mobile-
appreciate.
It was a mobile food truck. So
Okay.
she's right on. That's a really good idea.
That's a great
Yeah,
input.
I agree.
Nailed
Good
it.
I
job, Liz.
wasn't
That was
aware
great.
of that, so I'm writing down,
I
and we
like it.
look into it and see how can we
I
address.
mean, I don't care, if they're inside the truck, it's hot, it's not air conditioned. Most of the food trucks have like a little fan or something, but,
Yeah, that I would legally have a little trouble with, because we don't regulate the attire of anybody in a brick and mortar store. So like,
Right.
for example, Hooters or some other place where they wear very specific, but we could address that in signage. We could think
Yeah,
about making a
we will
revision
look
there.
at that, it's a great
it's
input.
just, but in the 80s, it was a very big to-do, so.
Okay, good,
Right.
good to know, good to know. And then also,
And I love
the
this.
checklist, isn't a masterpiece?
It is, it's gorgeous,
Very
it's
nice.
beautiful.
There can be no questions.
You guys did a great job.
Yes.
It did, it's.
I just, ice cream trucks, my father used to, years ago, when I was a little kid, he drove an ice cream truck, and it just says here that they can't have like outside noise or something. They can't, the Bungalow Bar and Mr. Softy always had the music
I
going.
think it's that they're exempt from.
Huh?
I think,
I can't, can you pull?
I think it says in one of these spots that if it's an ice cream truck, it can have the,
It
the
doesn't need the
bells, the
lights, but
music, the
it's just,
music.
yeah.
Yeah, it says, except for class 3
Yeah.
ice cream trucks.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to get you to
Mobile
the right
food
page.
trucks, except for them.
What page you
Yes.
on?
Page 5 at the top for noise limitation.
yes, okay.
Oh, I'm looking at the checklist, I'm sorry.
Well, no,
Yeah,
it's
it's on the
a checklist.
It's on the
It's where you're
checklist.
talking about. It's exactly where you are.
Yeah.
On page 5, it
At the
says
top.
noise limitations.
Yeah.
It says, except for class 3 ice cream trucks.
Okay,
So
And it's also on page 7 of the ordinance itself.
Okay.
Letter S.
I think we're
I knew
good.
I read it somewhere, but,
I think we're good on that.
okay.
Yeah, this was a comprehensive work with the attorney and the planners.
You guys did a good
and,
job.
and I know more than I ever knew about food trucks.
I learned a lot about
I
it.
learned a lot just reading it, so, yeah.
I know.
This is so well, I highlighted, it's so well put together. I read this first before.
Okay, well, The idea again is if somebody arrives to the village and wants to say, I am thinking to put a food truck, what do I need to do? So here it is.
Here it is.
You know, so it will be easy to read and follow and check, you know. So it will be all comprehensive in one and easy to read, because I don't want to give an ordinance, you know, it's hard.
Yeah.
No, this is good.
And I did have one question, probably would not be an issue, but it goes back to, you're talking about there being a following and more trucks show up and stuff. I know you have to have permission to be on the property of a plaza, and you can only be there
2 days.
2 days a month. And I guess I was thinking, well, you know, they've had TV shows about it where all the trucks show up and they get in fights and stuff like that. So I'm just curious as to how.
Well, I think so.
What
Once there's more than
happens?
one, they have to have a special event
Yeah,
permit.
that's
So
the permit.
then that will be controlled and the village will know that
Well,
that's
right,
happening.
But I mean, if you show up and the other guy shows up all trying to be
No,
first.
no. The way it will work, that the reason we still will overview that. For example, a plaza come in, the property owner needs to give the permission of the plaza that this food truck will be, I don't know, this and that day.
On specific days. Okay.
Yes, so, and then if another food truck, so the property owner, if the property owner bring me another, you know, and say, well, I also want to have this other food truck, and I say, no, sir, you're gonna need to apply for a special event, because please realize that you will have more than one food truck on your plaza. So that will be another scenario.
Okay, so they can't even have any food truck till they go through you in the first place?
Yes,
right.
Okay.
because
I get what you're saying.
also, we are putting together like it's not a permit form, but because we cannot actually permit them, but something that they can fill up, that, you know, they can have the property owner to sign, and so it will be more like a follow-up that will go with the checklist, you know. So there will be spaces where they can all sign, and so it will be clear.
Okay.
I like it. I think you guys did a great job.
So do you need a motion?
Yes, if we could solicit public comment.
Sure.
Go ahead and have a motion to adjourn LPA.
Oh,
Yes.
And then we'll
okay.
reconvene
All
as
right, may I have a
P&Z and
motion
we'll.
to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Now, what do we do?
5:59.
And if we could let the record show that